Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Well, there's big protests happening in London today. The farmers are upset because in the past they have had certain tax concessions which our new government is removing from them. So they're upset, and many people are going to Trafalgar Square in London today to protest against these changes. And there's a big picture of tractors. That's those big vehicles that farmers use to drive around their properties. There's a big picture of them passing Big Ben in the Guardian today. This news story is from the Guardian. It says, "Why are farmers heading for London?" It says, "Thousands of farmers plan to descend on central London today to protest against changes to inheritance tax announced in the budget last month." Yeah, so the story is that in order to maintain food supplies, farmers have always enjoyed a tax exemption. That means that they don't have to pay inheritance tax. But that's changing. Inheritance tax is when you pass your company or your property or whatever down to the next generation. So if you own a farm and you want to give it to your children, or when you die, it's to go to your children, you don't pay tax on that. But the new rules, which are due to come in, are saying you will have to pay tax. And the tax you will pay will be 20%, which is still quite cheap. I mean, usually if you own property or a company, when you pass it down to the next generation, then you pay 40%. So farmers, they didn't pay anything. Now they're being asked to pay 20%. It sounds like they're getting quite a good deal, but they're not happy because they're saying that it's killing farming. Well, anyway, it says here thousands of farmers plan to descend on central London. So it doesn't mean they're falling from the sky. If you descend on a place, it means a group of you go to that place. So let's say you and your friends are all getting together to go to a restaurant for a Christmas dinner. You can say, oh, we're going to descend on that restaurant. We say it because it's what birds do. When birds are flying in the sky, they see a bit of food and they all just descend to eat it. So when we are all gathering in a particular place, it's like a flock of birds descending from the sky. So yeah, to descend is a good verb. Thousands of farmers plan to descend on central London today to protest against changes to inheritance tax because they're being asked to pay 20%, unlike the rest of us who pay 40%. And up until now, it's been free for farmers to pass down their companies to the next generation. Why was it always free for farmers? Why didn't they have to pay that particular tax? Well, it's to encourage them to continue, because I think the British governments are always worried that food supply may be affected. But these days, we tend to import more, I think, so there's less of an issue than before. It's a very, very interesting story. So the farmers aren't happy, and they're saying that if they don't get what they want, they have the ability to block every main road in the country. Now, that probably is true, because although we think of farmers as, not very important, or we don't think of them as being particularly disturbing or violent people, Yeah, if you think about it, they actually own loads of the countryside, and the main roads go through lots of that countryside. So they could, in theory, block many of our main places. And there's been some suggestion made that that is a course of action that they could do if they wanted to. I mean, I can't imagine that happening. I can't imagine a farmer taking his vehicles or his cows and blocking a main road. But they're saying that if no one listens to them, that would be something they would think about doing. Very interesting, isn't it? So that is one of the headlines in our news today. Speaking of news, well, Christmas is coming, so it's time for Teacher Joseph to put up his Christmas decorations and also to slowly begin to plan and think about Christmas. The first thing for me I need to do is to come up with a menu about what I'm going to be eating. And I have to say, I've not really been cooking so much these days, so I'm going to be doing that. I'm going out today, and I'm going to bring you some podcasts in the coming weeks from just different scenes around where I live related to Christmas, some little outside broadcasts, so you can look forward to those. So coming up to Christmas, there'll be less of a focus on news and more of a focus on Christmas. Yeah, I want it to be special this year because I think as you get older, Christmas becomes less of an issue. And you have to really fight to make it something special. It's really sad the way that some people live now. I don't like Christmas, and I know there's a lot of people out there who really, really have a problem with it. But I'm really thankful that it's just one day now. In the old days, Christmas was about a week. Shops would close for at least 4 days. But now you have Christmas Day, and then the next day the coffee shops are all open, so you can get out the house and go about your usual business. I don't really like Christmas time. I think it's all just a little bit fake, especially when you go into shops. Oh, happy Christmas. Oh, lovely. Have a lovely time. And I'm thinking, what is it that you're expecting to happen when you say have a lovely time? It's a day when I'll be cooking and I won't be expecting any visitors. So it's just another day. TV might be better. I might get a chance to watch some movies, maybe to catch up with some people that I haven't spoken to in ages on Zoom or Skype. But apart from that, there really isn't anything else. Many of us here, we feel a little bit of a existential moment, like something big is really missing, especially when everyone else seems to be saying, oh, lovely, Christmas is coming, have a nice time. And I'm thinking, what is it that you're doing that I'm not, that makes your Christmas special? At least I get the chance to share Christmas with all of you, because I think that's a wonderful thing, and I get to share with you what I'm doing and where I'm going. But for people who are completely and utterly alone, I don't think it's much fun. And it's no wonder that it's only one day now, because people don't want that kind of moral blackmail. You will be happy. You will not work. You will be with family. It's a horrible way to live. So, yeah, I don't like it. Right. There's another news story here that you might like. I visited the new Westfield White City ice rink, and it's ideal for families and Disney adults, says this report. Okay, so let me just give you a bit of advice and background to this. So every year here in the UK, especially in richer towns such as around London, the government set up ice rinks. That's where you go ice skating, and they're there for Christmas. Some of them are free, but these days I think you have to pay around £20. But it is nice that it's there. It could be a bit dangerous though if you haven't ice skated for a while. I used to love playing ice hockey, but I haven't done that in years. I don't think I'd be able to even stand up on a pair of ice skates these days. But anyway, this news story is all about this ice rink that they've created at the shopping centre Westfields. For those of you who don't know, Westfield is kind of like a really glamorous shopping centre in West London. It's one of the biggest, most fashionable ones we have, and it sits in the middle of a, I think, really impoverished area. It's really interesting. And it says here, the ice rink at Shepherd's Bush, Westfield, opened up last Friday. So I decided I should go and check it out. That just means go and look at it. I haven't been ice skating since Christmas last year, so I thought it would be good, if not slightly scary. The word the man's using in the report here is daunting, slightly daunting. And this report is coming from the website My London. This man, and there's a picture of him here, it's interesting because he's skating on this ice rink, and underneath it, his headline says, "God, I'm so alone." I'm not sure what he means by that, but it does sum up Christmas, I think. We all feel that. He says here, an adult ticket cost me £19.65, £19.65, so it's not cheap. However, the ice rink over at Somerset House, that's another place in London, and also the Battersea Power Station ice rink is £16, so it's kind of normal. He says here, it's a really weird experience going to a Christmas ice rink on your own. Yeah, I can relate to that. He says here, but someone has to do it because I'm a newspaper reporter. And then he says, at least I have our photographer, Facundo, with me. Oh, that's a nice name. I have a Spanish teacher with that name, Facundo. He's in Uruguay. It says here, inside the glass building, two people greeted me, and you can hire skates from them. You don't have to bring your own. He says it did feel really family orientated with all these decorations, and I think that's what made him feel a bit alone there, because and there's pictures of him here alone on this ice rink. Very sad. He's a young man. Oh, he looks young. He's not that young, actually. I'll give him 35, 40. It says here, it was 2 p.m. on a Friday. The ice rink was really quiet. There were some families there on the ice. The staff were really helpful, but my ice skates weren't the most comfortable. Yeah, I remember going ice skating alone. That's the thing, if you're British, you really have to get used to doing loads of things alone. Otherwise, you simply wouldn't do them because, as you know, we aren't the most sociable people unless we're in the pub. British people don't really do things like this unless we have big families with kids, in which case you have an excuse to go to the zoo or to go to the ice rink. But those of us who don't have kids or don't want to go to the pub, you can be left wondering, well, what will I do today? Because it's unlikely you're going to find someone to do it with you. It says here the ice rink is maintained very well. He says here that if you fall, there is help available. And he's showing here that he's not the best ice skater. But he said he was happy that the staff were so busy talking amongst themselves, they didn't even notice when he fell. The playlist it was playing was a little bit odd while he was trying to ice skate. And there's more pictures here of him standing alone. Yeah, he goes on to say that he carried on skating. There was awkward moments and awkward photos taken of him. The staff were watching him to make sure he didn't have any accidents at certain times. The attendants made sure to keep an eye on me, and they came over when I was going the wrong way. It was awkward because I was alone, but it was okay. Yeah, well, that kind of really highlights, I think, how many people feel. And yeah, lots of pictures in this report here. And then he goes on to say, the rink is open from November 15th to January 5th. So have a good month and enjoy yourself if you go to Westfield. Yeah, Christmas is a really lonely time, especially for many Londoners. Going to London is a beautiful, wonderful thing, and staying there, living there, is a great, wonderful thing. But one of the harrowing memories I have of London is watching people on the metro alone, some of them crying, some of them looking like they're just not coping well with their mental health. Of course, it's not all like that, but you have to be quite strong to know yourself. London can be a very, very lonely place if you don't know what you're doing. Worse, if you struggle with the language, because I think London is a very fast place. So you need to really be aware of how quickly time goes there. You're so busy working. You want to make the best of your free time. So you try to work hard, play hard. And yeah, it's easy to get into a bit of a problem with that. Well, anyway, that's the story. There we are. So, ice rinks at Westfield, protests with farmers in Trafalgar Square, Christmas decorations up in London. I haven't seen those yet, but I hope to be in London before Christmas comes, so I'll be keeping you up to date with that as well. Enjoy your day. See you all soon. Bye.